Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name is Amanda and in today's video we're going to be kind of doing a salon beginner friendly nail design using isolated chrome and blooming gel. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. We're going to be doing this design on my own nails. I have applied the peel off base coat and a set of press on nail tips and buffed those so that we can go straight in with our design. Now for my colours today I'm going to be using Coral Crush Party Punch. I haven't used this colour in ages, so I was excited to use this one. And then I'm going to be using one of my absolute favourite nudes, which is Ballet Charm. Of course, I'm going to have my stripe liner to hand as well as my round nail art brush. I keep these two brushes to hand no matter what nail design I'm doing. So we've already prepped our tips, so we've buffed them and wiped over them with some alcohol. So we're going to go in with our gel polish, and I'm just showing you guys when I'm doing a short set of nails, this is roughly how much gel polish I take on my brush. I always completely wipe off one side of the brush no matter what length nails I'm doing, and then for a short / medium length set I'll wipe off half of the brush on the other side. So I'm keeping just a small amount of gel at the very bottom half of one side of the brush. I find this the easiest way to control the product when you're trying to work with that product up close to the cuticle areas and the sidewalls. And I always find it easier as well to go in with less product than you think you need rather than more, because as you see there, if I need a little bit more I can go and get some from the bottle. Whereas if you go in to your nail design, especially when working on shorter nails with a lot of product on your brush, then you end up chasing it around the nail, because if you apply too much pressure on the brush, that's going to release the gel polish onto the nail, and then this sometimes can equal in flooded cuticles or flooded sidewalls, and then you've got a lot more cleanup to do. So I always find it a lot easier to go in with just a small amount of product on my brush, and then that way I can control it a little bit more. And as you can see, it makes application around those cuticles and sidewalls areas a lot easier. Now if you do so happen to accidentally touch the sidewall there like I did there, then this is where I'll use my round nail art brush with a little bit of alcohol to clean up. Now on this particular nail I was struggling to get a really close cuticle line using the bottle brush, so that's why I also have my stripe liner brush to hand. I didn't even take any additional gel polish on it. I just used some of that product that was already on the nail to just nudge it with the brush to get a little bit closer around that cuticle area without having to worry about flooding it or ending up with an uneven or wonky cuticle line. I do find the Kiki London bottle brushes are fabulous for the size of them. I've got quite small nail beds, not too small, but they're fairly small, and I find this brush, even though it's a more medium to large size, it's dense enough that without applying too much pressure you can really nudge and wiggle your gel polish up close to the cuticle area nice and easily. But it's always handy to have your stripe liner brush to hand or the detail brush to get nice and close, especially if you are a beginner or if you're working in a salon and you want to make sure your work is top notch and looking nice and clean. So I'd done all of my first coat and popped them in to cure for 30 seconds. I did also do a Ballet Charm on my thumbnail. Personally, especially when doing videos, I always like to do my thumbnail separate. If you are using the Kiki London Deluxe LED lamp that I had pictured, you are able to do a full hand cure in that lamp. So if you're working on clients, you can do all of the fingernails and the thumb and cure them all together. When I'm working on myself, a lot of the time I would tend to smudge one of my fingernails when I'm working on my thumbnail. So I've got into the habit of doing all the fingernails first, curing those, and then doing my thumbnail separately. So if you are someone who works on yourself and you struggle with your thumbnails, then definitely give that a go. But I do love the Kiki London Deluxe LED lamp, the fact that you can do a full hand cure, especially when I'm working on somebody else. So here we're going to go in and apply our second coat of gel polish, and I'm applying this very similar to the first coat. So I'm going in with the same amount of product on my brush, applying it exactly the same. I always find the second coat is a little bit easier to do up at that cuticle and sidewall area, because even if you don't get it as close as what you did on the first coat, you're not necessarily going to notice that, if that makes sense. And then the only difference I realistically do on the second coat is I come in and very gently will cap the free edge of the nail with that second coat of colour. Application wise, I'll still do the same. I'll still keep my stripe liner brush to hand. So for example, if I know on the first coat that there was a particular nail I struggled to get a neat application with, and I went in with my stripe liner brush, I'll more than likely do this again on the second coat. Something that I absolutely love about all of the Kiki London gel polishes is they are so highly pigmented that a lot of the time, I would say like 99% of the time, you're only going to need 2 coats. There is the odd color that you might find it better to do 3 super thin coats. I'm thinking some of the neons when I say this, but even still now, my workaround for that is actually to go in with a white underneath and then come in with your 2 coats. There's just a couple of colors, but majority of colors, you're only going to need 2 super thin coats. You really don't need to be applying your Kiki London gel polishes thickly. They have a very highly pigmented, creamy consistency. So 2 thin coats, you'll notice on the first coat, the color might look a little bit uneven. It might not have the full opacity coming through, but when you come in and apply your second thin coat, you're going to get full opacity, as you would have seen there on the Coral Crush and the Party Punch. Ballet Charm is a bit more of a sheerer, natural looking shade, so that's why it doesn't look as opaque, because for example, that's not a full-on opaque shade. Now we're going to move on to doing our isolated chrome. So I was just showing you guys the main things that I'm going to use for my isolated chrome. For starting off, it's our matte top coat. So when you're doing any kind of isolated chrome design, you want your background effectively to be as matte as you can possibly get it. So what I like to come in and do is apply a thin coat of the Kiki London matte top coat, making sure to cap the free edge of this so your chrome doesn't stick or cling to your free edge, because with isolated chrome, we're only going to be wanting the chrome to stick where we paint on our design. So by having a matte background, it's going to make cleanup of your chrome a lot easier. So I'm coming in, applying a thin coat of this to both of those nails that we're going to be doing the isolated chrome on and capping the free edges. Popping this in to cure for 30 seconds, and as you can see, we've now got a matte finish. How gorgeous do these 2 colors look matte? To make it even more easier when it comes to cleanup, I also like to gently buff over the matte top coat with the 180 grit side of the Kiki London buffer. Very, very gentle here. You don't want to buff or away or remove any of that matte top coat. You're just kind of wanting to make sure that everything is as matte as it possibly can be. And then I'm going to go in and dust off with the Kiki London dust brush. Usually at this point as well, I would wipe over with some alcohol, but I completely forgot, and then that is a great step as well to ensuring that you don't get any chrome sticking where you don't want it to. So you're now that you've got your super matte nails, you're going to want to come in and paint on your chrome design. So I'm going to be using the Kiki London gel paints for this. I have done this before using no wipe top coat. It would have been quite a while ago before the Kiki London gel paints launched, but it is actually a lot easier to do this step with the gel paints, especially the black. So I'm going to go in with the black gel paint. I'm just taking a really small amount on my brush at a time, and I'm going to paint on a simple leafy design. I am not the best at hand painting, so this is one of my go-to comfort designs when I'm wanting to demonstrate something. But of course, at this point, you could go in and draw on absolutely anything you want with your gel paint. You can also incorporate this into other designs. So for example, if you've done a marble, you could come in after curing your marble with some black gel paint, cure that, and then come in and apply your chrome for some isolated chrome running through a marble, which is a really fun look. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you would like to see demonstrated in a video. You can also include it over things like decals, foils, stamping. Just make sure whatever you have done first, now likewise, you encapsulate that with a layer of matte top coat first of all. So once we've painted on our design using the gel paint, we're going to pop this in to cure for 60 seconds, and then we're going to take our chrome. So I've gone for the gold mirror chrome today because I thought the gold would look beautiful against those pinky peachy coral tones, and I'm taking my Kiki London silicone tool and just applying a very small amount onto the edge of the silicone tool. And then I'm going to use a circular motion and rub this over the top of our cured leaf, really rubbing it and burnishing it in, making sure I'm fully covering all of that black gel paint. When you're doing this over black, it's really easy because obviously you can see any areas that you might have missed. And then I'm going to move my chrome out of the way and take that same soft dust brush, and I like to just hold it a little bit lower than the handle to make it the bristles go a little bit more denser. And then I'm going to rub this over the entire nail, giving it a really good rub, and it's going to help remove majority, I'm going to say 99% of that excess chrome. We've just got a little bit left. So by giving it a good rub, as you can see, you're removing all of that excess, but the chrome has stuck down onto our cured gel paint, and that's not actually going to budge as long as you make sure that you're brushing with a soft brush, not like a hard bristly brush. Once I've got rid of most of that excess chrome, I'm going to go in with my round nail art brush and just a little bit of alcohol and just clean up some of those little areas where there was some stubborn patches of chrome left behind. Normally, if I wipe the nail after doing, so we did the matte top coat and the buffing, if I'd have wiped the nail with alcohol, I get even less chrome sticking behind. So that's something to bear in mind as well. And then we're going to do the same again, but with a smaller design on the ring finger. So going in with our black gel paint, and I'm just going to paint on some little leaves coming out of the corner of the nail. And I love how this looks because it's such a versatile look. You can do it for any season. So for example, we're in summer, so we're doing some leaves, but you could do some autumn leaves, some snowflakes. I do believe there is a snowflake video up doing chrome stamping as well, so that's another great way to use your mirror chromes. But I love doing it with this black gel paint because obviously then you have the freedom to create whatever design you want, and the more practice you get with your hand painting, the easier it is. Now I wanted this to be very beginner friendly or salon friendly if you're working in a salon and you're doing clients back to back, or you're on a time limit. So if I was either a beginner or working in a salon, it might take a lot longer to do isolated chrome on all of the nails. So I would pick 2 nails to be like the feature set in the design. So for example, here we've got the middle and the ring finger, and this way the whole design looks like it's a full-on nail art design, but you've only actually had to do a harder technique on 2 of the nails because we're going to do nice simple smoky blooming gel looks on the other nails. So to glance at the nails, it looks like a full-on nail art set, but only 2 of the nails have taken a bit more time, if that makes sense. So it's great as well if you are a beginner and you're wanting to start adding nail art into your easier designs, but then also great if you're working in a salon and you need to be quick. So we've cured our second leafy design. Make sure you are curing this for 60 seconds because you want to make sure that gel paint has fully cured, and when the gel paint has fully cured, it leaves a very minimal tack. It's not completely tack free, but to touch it, it would feel tack free, but there's an ever so slight amount of tack to it, which I actually love because I find it amazing for doing these kind of isolated chrome designs because it really grabs on to that chrome and holds it. You're not going to have any worries about your chrome rubbing off or chipping off as the client's wearing it. Of course, we are going to seal this in with top coat as well, but before we come to top coating the nails, we're going to create a blooming gel look with a marble on the remaining nails. So I wanted to use the 3 colors that I had used on my nails. So we've gone in with Ballet Charm, we're then going to go in with Party Punch, and then Coral Crush. And then because both of these colours are quite vibrant, I added in a little bit more Ballet Charm. We obviously got Ballet Charm on our base shade, but I wanted it to run through the marble because I wanted this particular marble to look quite soft and smoky. Now before applying our marble from the palette to our nail, I'm going to come in with a layer of blooming gel. So I'm going to pop a thin layer of this over the pointer and the ring finger, and on these 2 nails I wanted it to be just kind of like a soft, gentle looking marble. I didn't want to draw too much attention away from the 2 nails we've done the isolated chrome on because they're kind of like our focal point of the set. And then on the thumbnail we're going to do more of a full coverage marble, but still with enough of that Ballet Charm coming through. So I picked up a little bit of gel and I wasn't happy with how I'd picked it up, so I wiped it off, picked up another small amount, and I'm just, as you can see, laying it down into that wet blooming gel and just gently twisting my brush as I work it bit down towards the tip of the nail, and then I'm coming in with a little bit more along that edge, and then I'm just going to allow this to bloom. We don't want to cover up too much of that now. We want to be able to see that Ballet Charm coming through. I just wanted this to be like a nice, soft, subtle marble, and you can't actually see any of the Ballet Charm that we added in to the colours on our palette, but that's kind of the look I was going for. I just wanted something to break up the two colours on the palette a little bit and soften those so that it doesn't look as bold as the middle and the ring finger. So I did allow the second nail to bloom just a little bit, and then we popped that in to cure for 30 seconds, and I love how those two nails turned out. They frame the middle two nails beautifully. So on to the thumbnail, I'm going to come in again and apply a thin coat of blooming gel, being really careful that you don't flood the cuticles with this. Now I didn't realize at this point I had actually touched the cuticle area a little bit, so when it comes to applying that marble, the marble is going to run and follow wherever you've applied your blooming gel. So you will see that some of this marble starts running back into the cuticle area, and I just cleaned this off before curing. Now this now I wanted it to have more full on of the marble. I wanted the marble to cover the nail a lot more, but I didn't necessarily want to go in and cover up the entire base shade. So I'm just coming in random areas. So I started off in the center, wiggled that marble down towards the tip, and then come around one side and then round the other side, and then it gives that look of a full coverage marble but still keeps it nice and soft. We then went in and cleaned up the cuticle area with a little bit of alcohol on the round nail art brush, and then popped that in to cure for 30 seconds. And it's then time to come in and top coat. So I'm going to be top coating today with the crystal top coat. I love the crystal top coat for top coating over nail art because it's a little tiny bit thicker than the no wipe top coat, but it's not as thick as your rubber top coat. So it's great if you've added lots of layers to the nail and you don't want to add any extra thickness or bulk with the rubber top coat, or if you're not needing the strengthening properties of the rubber top coat. And then also it gives off the most amazing high shine. So over the two chrome nails, I was just very careful that I floated my top coat on, didn't apply too much pressure to my brush because I don't want to pick up any of those chrome particles. This is the great thing though about doing isolated chrome with the gel paints. You don't get any loose chrome particles, so you don't necessarily have to worry too much about contaminating your top coat brush. And then I just top coated the rest of the blooming gel nails in my regular way. We popped that in to cure for 60 seconds, and this is the finished result. Just look at the shine on those nails. I absolutely love the crystal top coat. It is my favorite top coat at the moment. It just gives off the most amazing shine. So if you haven't checked it out already, I would highly recommend adding it to your basket. At the time of recording this, I do believe the buy 5 get 1 free sale is still on as well, so do check that out. And then after applying my cuticle oil, I'm going to finish off with a little bit of the K&S Woody Rose hand lotion. This leaves your skin feeling amazing. And then this, guys, was the finished result. I think I'm going to have to finish off my right hand because I'm really loving these, so it'd be nice to have a matching set of nails for the weekend because these are giving full-on summer vibes. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below letting me know what videos you would like to see. If you're not already subscribed to the Kiki channel, then please do consider hitting that subscription button, and I shall see you all again in the next video. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.